Change of pace.
Welcome, everybody, to the Change of Pace podcast. My name is Sai, and I'm joined here by Sahil. And today we're going to be discussing the remaining playoff series we got left. The draft lottery just happened, so kind of the winners and losers in that. And then also we're going to go over the 10 teams that got eliminated the postseason, see what their future plans are, they can get back to contention. First of all, Sahil, how are you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. I mean, the Thunder just swept the Lakers.
Yep.
Cavs came off a huge win
Yep.
to tie the series. We're heading to game five tomorrow. So let's start with the draft lottery real quick. Obviously, not much to talk about. We got our four teams who, in fact, won the lottery. First, we got the Wizards. Next, the Jazz. Third, went to the Memphis Grizzlies. And fourth, went to the Chicago Bulls.
Mhm.
Actually, real quick, I did want to mention rest in peace to Brandon Clark. Some awful news that happened this morning, just kind of out of nowhere. He's, a lifer for the Memphis Grizzlies, which kind of reminded me of this moment. And it just, best of luck. Hopefully his family can get through these trying times, and hopefully whatever happened to him, like just, stay safe, hug your loved ones. Really unfortunate.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy to see an active player. I think that
Yeah.
might be the first time that I've seen an active player die. So that was pretty
Yeah, that was
upsetting.
crazy.
But yeah, going into the draft lottery, I will say I do not envy the Wizards for having to make this decision because I mean I've seen people talk about all four of the top guys being Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, and Caleb Wilson as guys that could potentially be the number one pick. And they're gonna have to figure out which one they like the most. I've gone back and forth on it maybe three times in the past day. I could see why you take a guy like Jaron Peterson just because the offensive output. I mean, he shared the floor with DeBonsa a couple times this season, and he looked better than
Yep.
DeBonsa did. But AJ is an elite athlete. The jump shot is still coming around, but and the defense too. But if you just want to bet on athleticism, you might go AJ. But then you also have the same discussion with Caleb Wilson, who's only 19, and he looked so good at UNC this year. And then Cam Boozer just is like good at everything and doesn't
Yep.
have any major weaknesses. So I don't know where would you even go with this?
Honestly, yeah, again, a lot of everyone has their strengths, everyone has their weaknesses. It seems like DeBence is like the clear-cut star. Like he has the recipe for being a star. The shot creation is pretty exceptional. The mid-range jumper, he can get downhill in an instant, like just with his physicality and the rim pressure he can create. Like there's a comfortability with him just being able to come in day one and score 20 points a game. Like obviously he could struggle if he joins the Wizards, he could struggle like with the amount of help and the lack of shooting around him. But then again, you got Darren Peterson, who's like the perfect off-ball wing guard, who he has said he wants to play point guard, which is an interesting wrinkle. He did play that in high school, more of a on-ball creator, but then in Kansas, he was a real off-ball player and just a dynamic scorer, able to cut downhill relentlessly, superb athlete, great
I think
shooter.
it's honestly so valuable when a
Yep.
young guy played point guard growing up. I mean, this is
Hmm.
not, he's not a center, obviously, but like Anthony Davis did the same thing. And you
Right.
see how playing a guard at a young age teaches you how to see the floor. So
Exactly.
Darren Peterson being able to do that is big. I worry about AJ's three-point shot. His
Yeah.
mechanics look completely fluid. And, I feel like a lot of people have compared him to Tatum. But Tatum shoots a lot of threes off the dribble, a lot of pull-ups, a lot of side steps. I don't know, at least in the first 3, 4 years of AJ's career, he'll have that jump shot.
Yeah, I'd agree. There was a clip floating around of him just really struggling shooting from three during the draft workouts today. His mechanics, yeah, like you said, it reminds me a lot of Aaron Wiggins' shot, like, or not Aaron, sorry, Andrew Wiggins. With just, and he's turned out to become a good shooter. Really started off similarly. Like they seem like a very similar prototype of each other. I'd say, um, with the handle AJ has, he just has a little bit more of a, you can see it much more than Andrew. Like that was really the kind of struggle with the shot creation Andrew had, a lot of settling jumpers and not being able to really pressure the rim. So even though that may be the case, I trust his mid-range jumper. He's been kind of modeling himself after Shea is what I've heard a lot, Tracy McGrady as well, and those type of prototypical like big guards. I think even if you don't have a perfect go-to jumper, I think it would be great. He could still like create a lot of points. I thought he was a pretty good passer. Definitely had some moments of tunnel vision, but like when you can tell he's like understanding the game slowed down for him. I felt like he made some good reads as well. So like yeah, as an on-ball guard, I definitely see the vision, even though without the three-point shot. The question is like if he's playing with Trae Young and Anthony Davis in Washington or Keontae in like in Utah or something like that. Like that's the is a big question mark for sure there.
So talking about the Wizards,
Mhm.
where do you think Trey and AD actually factor into this decision?
Honestly, I bet very little, but at the same time, it's important to make sure that when you're drafting him, he's coming into a good situation. Because I feel like that first year or second year kind of decides everything. It's pretty rare for like a player to kind of get after his like third, fourth year, kind of develop in a different direction. As if his first 2 years were pretty like terrible circumstances. So like if Trey has the ball in his hands a lot, making AJ kind of a spot up guy, just not the direction I see him from personally.
Yeah.
That's why I think Darren would be a great fit for the Washington Wizards, and I feel like he could really develop there. I think as a lead guard as well, like Trey Young would be able to like help him kind of facilitate and learn that dimension of his game while also like allowing him to be a great version of himself just playing as an off-ball guard. And then I think we even haven't even talked about Cam Boozer, who's just like you said, like an exceptional player.
Mhm.
Doesn't really do anything terribly. Like
Mhm.
he's his biggest weakness, it seems like perimeter defense, and he's kind of like a tweener 4-5. Like
Yeah.
that's the real question mark without the elite athleticism that Caleb Wilson might have.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think he could be like an Al Horford-esque defender, which is like ability to know the game really well, shuffle your feet around the perimeter enough, and be a good enough rim protector. But the strength is really what drives your defensive value, and he's really strong. Like into coming into the NBA, like day one, he'll be like a pretty. The NBA strength won't be a problem for him. I don't think that element of the game will be like he can come in because of his NBA body. He can like translate pretty immediately.
Yeah. So if let's say P Peterson goes to the Wizards,
Yep,
the Jazz would be ecstatic.
for sure.
AJ at two. He's already a BYU guy. I think
Yep.
he was Utah prep in high school too. And they don't really need a guy like Cam. I mean, you don't really draft for fit when you're at pick two. But you do have Laurie and now you have Jaren Jackson. Um, AJ would just be a nice like slot into the Keontae, and that would be a very interesting fit.
Yeah, I think honestly, if I'm the Wizards too, I would really consider Cam because AD, I'm not really considering him my future plans. Like he got
Yeah,
me the number one pick. That's what he does apparently.
yeah,
I think Alex Sarr is just a perfect fit around Cam Boozer with his length, with his flexibility as a defender, and the ability and like what he's learning to become and develop as a three-point shooter. It just seems like the perfect five for
mhm,
what Carl for what Boozer brings as a four. Um, so yeah, I think there's just so many options this draft could go. I really like the possibility of like the Wizards trading to three and getting Boozer and like maybe the Memphis Grizzlies jump up and get Darren Peterson or AJ DeMonte at their first pick. Like there's just so many possibilities with the top four. And not to mention the biggest winners of the draft, the Clippers getting number five with Indiana losing their pick in a crazy turn of events. Yeah.
yeah. I feel so bad for Pacers fans on one hand because they went through this terrible year where they just saw their team lose and lose,
Yep.
and their star player looks super fat, and hopefully he gets over that.
Yeah.
But then they also had this devil magic run that they even beat my team along the way, and so I'm a little salty about that. Um, but I think going back on it, I do wonder. Kevin Pritchard said some things along the lines of like, yeah, we would still take that swing, we would still take that gamble, but man, that was a huge gamble to take.
Mhm.
It did not pay off.
Yeah, I mean, when you make a gamble like that, I can understand if the probability was like a 10, 15, 20% of you losing. It was 50-50. And that is a coin flip. Like I would not risk losing the pick, the tanking season that you guys put on, especially Indiana, a team that just doesn't tank, right? I think the highest pick they've gotten in recent years, number seven with Benedict and Mathurin. Like they do not tank. And again, Zubac's a great player. You wouldn't have gotten him without this deal, is what all reports are saying. That's what Kevin Pritchard said himself.
Mm.
But it's just like I don't know if it was worth it personally. Like I think if you could get like a lead guard off the bench or a perfect wing who could fit in like a Braden Burries, or you just have the asset to trade along the way. Like if you knew as number five, you could trade down, maybe get Zubats by like trading down, get more assets along the way, and still get him later. I just think the flexibility number five offers you is just way more than having Zubats in your pocket right now.
Hmm.
And I think personally, I was kind of down on the trade at the time just because of that crazy swing, and
Yeah.
it's worked out poorly.
I could see the Pacers being super competitive next year, though. Like
Yeah,
Zubac
for
is,
sure.
he is a very nice fit in their offense. He doesn't
Hmm.
provide the floor spacing that like Miles did, Miles Turner, and I could see that creating some issues. But I don't know, the Pacers offense just feels like such a healthy ecosystem that like at least when Tyrese is out there and he's healthy and he's himself, that I feel like a guy like Zubac does kind of just like fit in that offense.
No, absolutely.
But
Like
I do want to
Zubats
ask,
is a quick center. He can run.
yeah,
Like he could definitely run. I did hear like Brian Windhorst. He was kind of saying like the only reason they overpaid for this is because Zubats is on a great deal, and
yeah,
the Pacers are allergic to the luxury tax.
yeah.
So if that's the reason you make a deal like that, again, don't love it, but Zoo is a great fit, like you said.
So I was listening to Zach Lowe's podcast, and he brought up an interesting point about how the next few drafts aren't that great in terms of this top heavy talent. Like, there's no way that one of these teams trades out of the top four just because
Right.
these are all potentially generational players.
Yep.
And OKC at some point has so many picks, and so many young guys that they're gonna have to consolidate that at some point. Do you think this is the year that they could potentially just like use 12, use a couple picks, and try to jump into that top four?
I honestly think there's never going to be a, and as an OKC fan, like we have all the assets, but I think what Presti loves about the assets is the flexibility it gives you. Right now in the CBA, we have like it's a you got the second apron. With that second apron, rookie contracts are at a premium, especially like AJ Mitchell contract. You're seeing that right now. $3 million a year. He's able to give such value
That is.
at, I mean, I agree, completely absurd. Presti is a demon. But the fact that he makes like 1.5% of the cap, which is crazy, and is about can give you so much. Like finding those guys are more important than ever.
So you
And
think they're just never going to go all in and keep sitting on
yeah,
these picks?
like if you got these picks, just make them a pick next year. Like I think they're going to trade seven. They have 12 and 17 this year. I think 17 this year. They'll just trade. Hey, team who doesn't have a lottery pick. Hey, let me think of a team. I don't know. Phoenix. You want to get back in the draft. Give us a future asset. We'll talk down the line. It just keeps on doing that, and then you get one pet player here. We got Sorber, we got Topic, we add another guy to that core. Maybe one of them. Like it seems like those two, at least right now, are gambles. You get a third gamble. One of them bound to hit, especially with Presti's track record as a drafter. You just keep that rolling, and then you trade those guys. Go in the future. Just keep on picking up draft picks for the future and future. And this is how you create a dynasty, right? Obviously, it's going to run out of luck. The scouting's not going to be perfect every time, but I think this is the way you win for now and also have a great future ahead.
Well, if anybody could jump in the top four, it would be them. And at a certain
Yep.
point, they do have an offer where like if you're the Bulls, where they're just like throwing so much at you that you're like you can't even say no anymore. They do have that ability to do that. Like you said, they probably won't, especially with
Yeah.
sitting on 12, you scout well. I mean, you could get the sixth best player in the draft, you know? But interesting. What do you think about the Bulls? I mean, they've
Yeah.
jumped in before. Wow.
Like Bryson Graham, new VP of basketball operations. I think I was hearing something about slap. That's his
Wow.
motto for
Yeah.
grafting, right?
Yeah.
Size, length, athleticism, playmaking. I think was the
It's
four
the
letters.
physicality, physicality.
Physicality, Caleb Wilson, right there. And
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the player who ends up falling into the lap right there. Makes a lot of sense. Sounds like a perfect fit. That's why I don't think the Bulls are going to trade out just because of how good. And they also have number 15 from Portland,
Yeah.
which they got. So I think like those two, I think Caleb Wilson makes perfect sense. I do think he is that number four. It seems like he's a solid number four in the draft. Um, I think number one, two, and three is kind of like where the things might flip around.
And Caleb Wilson, I was watching his highlight tape and he's just like doing things that like he's like jumping off the screen.
Yeah, it's Sean Kemp, it's Giannis,
Yeah.
it's like ridiculous athleticism, man.
Yeah. And I think the Bulls have two second round picks too, so they could have
Okay,
a nice young core building if they can draft well. So yeah, we'll see. Should we talk uh playoffs next
let's
or
do it. Yeah.
well
All
we
right.
just saw the Spurs beat the Wolves. Should we start there?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, Spurs beat the Wolves, go up 3-2 in the series. Wemby came out in the first 6 minutes and had 16 points, five
Hmm.
rebounds, and an assist, which is just ridiculous. Um, well, yeah, what do you think of did the Wolves have a chance in game six? They play better at home.
Yeah, no, I think game five was always gonna be a tough battle. Like the Spurs, as soon as like Fox and Harper, who were questionable, like were back, I felt like the Spurs had this kind of in the bag.
Mhm.
Um, the half court offense that the Spurs can create with Wemby, just nuts. Like as good as the Timberwolves defense, it's hard to sustain that for 48 minutes, especially with the lack of depth you have. And then Wemby just again lit on the rim. The Spurs are always pushing, just going to tire you out. So even though, they made a run at the end of the second quarter into the third quarter, and you kind of thought they were coming, maybe they're storming back. Spurs just shut the lid. I thought Keldon Johnson today was incredible. Like had the best game
Finally.
of the series.
Yeah. Finally.
And they played him like serious minutes. I felt like Mitch Johnson kind of leaning away from him, and then brought him back for the perfect time. Again, Wemby, superstar, maybe best player in the league. Just undeniable impact. Every minute he's on the floor, it feels like
On
the
both
Wolves are
ends.
crawling to be in the game, so they have to take so much command of the game when he's off the floor. And then like when these Spurs games, like when everyone scores like 15 plus, that team is terrifying. Like I think they can beat anyone in that situation. And yeah, like as a Thunder fan, I think it's really a 50-50 series with them and OKC. Like the youth is kind of what makes me lean OKC, but like man, the Spurs are special. With maybe the best player in the league, it's gonna be really, really tough to slow them down. We're gonna need everything.
I'm so excited for that series. The first thing I want to look at the box score is that Ant only took 13 shots. So
Yep.
the way that the Lakers were doubling Shea essentially is like what the Wolves are doing to
Anthony Edwards,
it's
yeah.
kind of like how the Raptors were guarding Donovan and James Harden as well. Like they're showing one, then they're bringing up two, then they'll fully commit to two, or they're like in the passing lanes. Ant looked pretty uncomfortable for most of it. Finally, when he gets breathing room, he had a couple bank shots, but Wemby outside of that game two blowout, where the Wolves basically just like gave up after stealing game one. The Spurs are plus 44 when he's on the court, minus 15 when he's off. So you can just see like in terms of uh just impact, two-way impact, I don't think there's a better player than him. I think that he's not the offensive engine that Shea is. Um,
Hmm.
but and you can really see that maybe in the fourth quarters of hopefully some of these Spurs and OKC games. Um, but he's just like you could see when he's off the floor and Cornette's in, like the lane just opens up for Minnesota and they just feel more comfortable when he's out there. I don't really know the best way to guard Wemby at this point. The only thing you can really do is while Castle still, has a semi-unreliable jump shot, you put your low man on Castle when they run that Fox Wemby pick and roll, which they went to a lot today in game five. You have the low man tag the roller, and then, but that's why they generate so many corner threes. They attempted the most corner threes in history this year. So
Yep.
that's why Wemby just has this insane gravity when he's rolling, and you have to almost have two. And even if you bring two, he's 8 foot and he can just go up and grab it.
Yep.
But I don't really know. Like I mean, a front court of Chet and Hart is like probably the best you can do. But if Castle's knocking down open shots, which he's gonna get a ton of, like I don't know how you guard them. The
Yep.
only thing is like how many minutes did Wemby play? He played 32. Like I don't know if he can he play 38, 39, 40 in a
Right.
game? That's the big question mark because if he can, it feels impossible to lose the Wemby minutes for the Spurs.
Yeah, I agree. Especially as how aggressive and comfortable he looks against Gobert and like self-creation. Like that's kind of the limit. Like you're hoping he plays you one-on-one instead of going in that pick and roll with Fox or Castle, like, and they're able to find him. But I think you just gotta hope for some of these corner threes to miss. Like Julian Champagny when game four, obviously without Wemby for elbowing Naz Reid.
Mm.
Um, he was struggling from three. Fox, Castle, Harper, kind of unreliable shooters. Obviously, they've shot great, especially Harper this postseason. But yeah, it's just you got to kind of hope for the misses. You got to peel off and guard, like just have three basically in the paint during the pick and roll, and then you got to muscle him up. Just like you have to make his screen not like the screening is I feel like where he's kind of like become such a strength for him because if you could just switch that pick and roll like it would be a lot easier but you can't he'll just post you up.
Yeah.
If you try to drop he's just going to get behind you somehow because he's super quick and even if he's not behind you he'll just dunk on you because he's
Yeah.
has that insane of a reach. It's an action that's so hard to guard that you have to commit so many bodies to and then that just
Or he'll just like seal out the small and
and then
Harper or Castle or Fox,
yeah,
quick ass guards can just get all the way to the rim. I think you
right,
have to Gobert just isn't a good matchup for Wemby. Like
yeah,
Randall has had some more success just because
right,
like it reminds me a lot of that Clippers Thunder series where Chris Paul was guarding KD and he just like but in his legs and just like not
Hmm.
let him move around. I feel like that's really the only way that you can guard Wemby, and J-Dub is like a perfect guy that you could throw on Wemby. Just make him uncomfortable and then like shadow over Chet or shadow over iHeart. Which I mean, maybe you even do you think they start iHeart against the Spurs?
Yeah, I think that's an adjustment Mark will have to make. Like, I feels like Mark kind of is late to these starting lineup adjustments. A lot of the times because he's a little stubborn with sticking with his lineup. I feel like Hearts, like a Gobert, it just allows your offense to struggle. Even though as much as iHeart likes to stay outside the paint, Wemby's just gonna sag off of him. We don't have any reliable like you come off the screen, just shoot 3-point shooters like an Anthony Edwards, right? Like we don't Shea's not that guy. So Wemby's just gonna, pack the paint. These guards are very aggressive. They're gonna get into you off these screens. Like you're just gonna have to hope go smaller and hope you can deal with them off the glass, create enough havoc and turnovers and make enough shots. So that's why, scary team for sure.
Yeah. Dylan
But
Harper.
I don't want to preview him too much.
I don't want to
This
preview too much either, but
yeah,
yeah, one last point I want to talk
yeah,
about is Dylan
definitely.
Harper because he looked so good last game. He looked so good today, even though he only had 12 points. He had 5 offensive rebounds. It just feels like he's good at everything. Like I don't know
Yep.
what he's bad at. He's a good defender. He's a good rebounder. He can shoot the ball. He can drive the ball. He's a good passer. It's just like in I'm scared of what in 3 years Dylan Harper and Wemby look like. And God, I hope the second apron comes to get him because that feels like the only hope at this point.
Yeah, agreed. Harper, just a relentless driver, can create an advantage out of anything. He reminds me like I said this before a while ago. I think AJ Mitchell and Dylan Harper are very similar players and create
Mhm.
advantages. Obviously, lefties, both like similar shifty players. Harper's even a better athlete at the same way, which is really scary to think about. Just like a super solid player and makes the perfect play at the perfect time. Like Fox will have games where he struggles. You just put Harper in and he just won't make mistakes. And it
Yeah,
feels like teams are like I think John Krasinski on Zach Lowe's pod was saying like the Wolves might be more intimidated by Dylan Harper, like what he's able to bring than Fox, because it feels like Fox will settle and he'll get disrupted by McDaniels a lot more than Harper will.
I agree. I 100%
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, I agree. Should we talk next 10, the playoff teams, right?
Well, yeah. Should we not do
Oh,
like
Pistons
each?
Cavs.
Yeah, Piston
Oh,
Cast.
how did I forget?
Yep.
Yeah, Cavs won the next two at home.
Yep.
Shockingly, well, not shockingly because they don't lose on at home and they don't win on the road. Game five against in Detroit will be very interesting. It kind of feels like the Cavs had the momentum. They have the upper edge at this point. Donovan looked very comfortable after having scoring 4 points in the first half, 39 in the second half. Should have been the playoff record for 40, but he went and missed that last free throw.
Of course.
Mhm. Of course he did. And Harden, 24 and 11. Kind of an
Yep.
unsung hero Harden type of game with everybody looking at Mitchell.
Hmm.
But he was very good. Mobley had probably the best defensive game I've seen from as a Cav. I think he had 8 stocks. And
Yep.
then
He was two
Jared
steals
Allen,
away from a 5 by 5, dude.
yeah, which
Nuts.
is just insane.
Yeah.
And really the conundrum that Detroit is in, at least the biggest thing that I can see, is that it's what to do with Asar Thompson because when he's out there offensively, they are so much easier to guard. There was one play, only one play where Mobley really lost him and he got a layup. But other than that, Jared Allen can come up on these screens when Duran screens for Cade. They showed two on the ball to Cade. He had a couple turnovers trying to throw it to Duran. But even if he gets it into Duran, Mobley's just sitting there and he's playing a 2v1 and like there's maybe Wemby and Chet and then Mobley is the top three guys you
Yep.
want in a 2v1 scenario and maybe Draymond. But on the other end, defensively, he's a menace though. You kind of need him out there to guard Donovan or to guard James Harden because otherwise if you just go lean to the offense lineup with like I don't even know who you'd bring in, but um, they're just it's one of the reasons these Thompson twins are so tough to like scheme with on your
Yeah.
team. Like, what do you do with these guys that are such huge offensive black holes, but just absolute defensive menaces?
Yeah. I mean, to me, again, Asar's a problem, right? Like, as good as he is defensively, if he can't, like, really stick with Mitchell, and it didn't feel like once Mitchell got going, it was really hard for him to stick with anyone.
Yeah,
He doesn't offer a lot of value. I would say like last game, like there's no like post end like no none of these guys are post scorers, right? So Asar can't like just make plays out of the open floor. Like it's a lot easier when you're just making entry passes or like things like that. But like once you're at the guards, you're really at the guards whim. Like if Asar can box Mitchell, that's his value. But otherwise, it's like really tough. other than like, a lot of like a hard doubles on Harden or like blitzing Harden, like he can definitely cough up the ball. I will say, like, I feel like the bigger problem, even though Asar has had some was a pretty much a negative in that last game. I think just Duran's incapability of like really affecting the ball. Like he's just hasn't been a great rebounder, hasn't been, or like he's been a fine rebounder, but just like Paul Reed's outplaying him. Isaiah Stewart, like not great either from him, but he might have more value as a defender than what Duran's giving you on either end, right? So having two non-shooters is kind of where the problem lies. Like I feel like if they can go smaller, like just maybe the route for Cade is just have Asar set these screens. Just run into Mobley, deal with them head first, and then have like the lane's a lot more clear. Tobias Harris has been killing for them. I feel like he can continue to dominate that James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, just dominate these smaller guards whenever they're on him. Because that's the matchup they're willing to give up. Like that's the but like as long as if Cade can like create advantages against Mobley just straight up 1v1, I feel like that's your best chance of creating like sustainable offense. And then obviously they shot the lights out these first two games. And even game three they shot pretty well after shooting starting off really bad.
Mhm.
But if you shoot better at home, that's always going to help as well. But it definitely feels like the Cavs have the advantage just because of how dominant Mobley was.
It just
Um,
feels like they figured out more about what to do with this Detroit defense than
yeah,
Detroit has figured out. One thing about Dirk is I feel like I noticed that like for a guy who's so big and strong, and has a low center of gravity, his base, he very rarely plays off 2 feet. It feels like when
hmm
he's driving to the rim, he's like going off one, and it's like, man, go like put your shoulder into somebody, go off two. Then he had a
yeah,
big left hand dunk on Jared Allen in game three. I think he put Mobley under the basket in game four. Like they need to see more of that.
yeah,
I think he should be sealing more. This is one thing I had a problem with Allen not doing a lot like against the Raptors, especially when they're showing two on the ball. Is like, dude, like you're a big guy. Like seal somebody out like Wemby was doing a couple times today. Like that creates so many lanes that I feel like he's just like he's just like it feels like he's playing soft. And the fact that JB had to take him out 3 minutes into the second half for Paul Reed, and not to mention Isaiah Stewart, who like has been really terrible. I mean, I don't know why. I can't believe Biggerstaff didn't bring back Paul Reed in the fourth quarter. They had a mini
yeah,
run where they got it to like 11 or 12, and he kind of stuck with Duran out there, or maybe even Stewart. And it's like, dude, Paul Reed has been killer. He had 14 minutes. He should play at least 20 to 23
yeah.
next. We'll see. I mean, I just think the Cavs process is really good. Detroit was packing the hell out of the paint. The Cavs were getting a bunch of jump shots, open jumpers, which I mean, that's a fun game to play on the at home. Or for Detroit, it's harmful, but risky, in fact, to play on the road. Cleveland at home is a much better jump shooting team. We'll see if they can muster up a road win. I
Yeah.
mean, the idea of even winning on the road now for the Cavs like feels so far and distant. One thing I will say is in the Donovan Mitchell era, the Cavs have never been this far. They have never been, what is it,
Game
10
four.
wins away from an NBA championship. So two
Okay.
wins in the second round. So this is now uncharted territory for the Cavs.
Yeah, I would also say like game two where they really struggled shooting. I feel Sam Merrill was missing, and once he came back, I felt like a lot of the shots opened up for them. And
Yeah.
Merrill's just obviously a great shooter by himself, so I'm hoping that can give him advantage in Detroit. But yeah, tomorrow, biggest game of the series, obviously tied 2-2 game five. Unless there's a game seven, this is going to be kind of a decisive series. So
Yeah. Yeah.
good luck to you, James Harden. Be a different player, man. You were exceptional the last two games, but let's hope it's not only in what's it, Rocket Mortgage Arena?
Rocket Fieldhouse, the
Rocket
Rock.
Fieldhouse. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see if the Karis LeVert wheel spun to Jordan
Yep. It
in
did.
game four. Hopefully it spins to somebody a little shittier in game five. And then we don't have to deal with Karis LeVert anymore.
Yep. If you Karis LeVert, that game's like a 30-point blowout. Like that's
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So let's move on to the 10 teams that were eliminated. I think let's start most recent teams to get eliminated. So let's start with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
Swept by the OKC Thunder in a, awesome game four. Made one of the best games of the playoffs. Did you watch it? I wasn't sure.
And I didn't get a chance to.
No, it was as good as it gets. Shea and AJ Mitchell basically carried the Thunder offense, and as good as Reeves and LeBron, Rui was maybe the best player on the floor,
Mhm.
and it just wasn't enough. As good as the Lakers play, if they played probably as good as they have all season, like we're able to put together two great halves, which they were unable to do all series long.
Mhm.
You just have so little room for error and 19 turnovers. It's just going to cost you against a team like OKC. But looking to the future now, lot of turmoil. This is one of the most unique situations in the league. We have a lot of free agents. LeBron, Austin Reeves, DeAndre Ayton it has a player option. Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, Maxi Kleber, Marcus Smart has a player option. Luke Kennard, and so on. Like this is basically Luca and no one else. Like that's what the roster is at this point. Luca and Bronny. Um, what do you see as the future for this team? What do you think they have to get to a path of contention? Obviously, they were missing Luca in the playoffs, but
Right.
yeah.
So you have the blueprint. Dallas has done the nice thing of not only did they give you Luka Doncic, they
Hmm.
also gave you the blueprint on how to make the finals with Luka
Right.
Doncic.
Right.
So one thing
How
is
to
you need
beat
to do is
OKC with Luka Doncic.
exactly how to beat OKC, even though that was a different OKC team. But
Yep.
you essentially need athletic wings, right? Defensive minded athletic wings. You need a good center who can catch lobs, and you need shooting. Kennard's a free agent. I think you've got to prioritize Kennard. And then the Reeves question is very interesting because he's been on a, I think, 3 year, 45, $50 million contract, which he's completely outplayed. Um, I think you do have to re-sign Reeves. There was this report in The Athletic where even Luka was like, I want Reeves back. Don't trade him for Giannis,
Yep.
which is whether you think that's the right thing to do or not, I don't know. But I do feel like Reeves will be a Laker. He's gotten better every single year. And the one thing that he did show in games 3 and 4 is that even against the premier team in the league, against the premier defensive team in the league, he looked semi-comfortable. I think he had 30 in each game. So he showed the ability to still score against a really good defense and as a second option, right? Or, arguably the first, second, whatever. With Luca, you would think the game would be even easier. A lot of questions about that defensive backcourt though, which I don't think will ever go away. But if you can surround Reeves, Luca, and three real 3 and D guys and a good center, that's a pretty good team. The question is who are those guys? And also Rob Pelinka does not have a good track record. I mean, they had a really good 2020 defense, a really good 2020 title team. He blew it all up for Russell Westbrook. Terrible decision in hindsight. And since then, they've just kind of been like operating at a talent disadvantage. It feels like every single year. Um, they haven't really hit on any draft picks. I mean, they drafted I'm forgetting his Jalen
Oh,
Hood-Schifino with the
oh
17th
yeah.
pick,
I
right?
thought we
Like just
can
like
connect like the next year, basically the same
connect.
player. Yeah.
Just a lot of misses.
Yep.
I don't really have much faith in Rob Pelinka, and I don't think anybody really should. But I mean, this is opportunity. I mean, you have Luka Doncic, and you know exactly what you need. Go and get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things on this roster that I like is Rui Hachimura, demon. Like
Yeah,
legitimately, I think one of the best players on the Lakers roster. Like his shooting was nuts, dude. Like it felt like every shot it was just going to go in. I think DeAndre Ayton has a player option. You really hope he declines it. Did not have a great year, did not have great playoffs. Like good enough year, but you know the value he provides just isn't enough, and he has too big of an ego to come off the bench. Like just he's not dominating. He thinks he is, but he's not, right?
he got the chain, so
You got
yeah,
the chain, yeah.
yeah.
Austin Reeves is the real question. Obviously, LeBron is if either he comes back or he doesn't. The flexibility he's able to provide you would be amazing if he decides to take a pay cut, but you never know with Bron. I think he respects himself too much to probably do that. But Reeves, you just can't pay him a max. Like, I agree, I could see a vision of the team as a second option, but with Luca, with Reeves, like one of them has to become a drastically better defender for them to be a real contender. Like
Yeah.
Reeves can be the Kyrie Irving, but even Kyrie Irving was a way more competent defender than Reeves was. Like AJ Mitchell was just going at Reeves this entire 4 games, and Shea was just trying to screen for Reeves. Like their whole plan of attack was just screen for Reeves, try to draw two if they're worried about Reeves kind of on an island, and if he's not, just cook him, and it worked for the most part. And as good as Reeves was in game two and game four offensively, just really able to get downhill, draw fouls, hit some tough threes. I don't trust his shot making like reliably throughout a series, and I think the turnovers are a real problem. Like I think he averaged probably close to 5 turnovers a game this series, and
Well,
that just
ideally
yeah.
with Luka, his usage rate is a little lower.
Definitely. Yeah. But I
So
think he's just overwhelmed by the physicality that even on a lower, like you saw this with the Minnesota series, even against Houston. He was coming back from injury, but still, turnovers has just been a problem for him throughout his postseason career. So that's really a question mark. And again, Luca, great player. He also turns the ball over. That's one of his limitations. So if you're coming out with a possession disadvantage, you're gonna have to have some real freaks athletically, just able to grab a lot of offensive rebounds, and you need guys who hit shots to really counteract that. And as good as Luka, as good as Reeves are at hitting shots, like Rui, I think you got to send him back. Like that's a big must for me. He can be their PJ Washington. I don't think he's as the defender, obviously, but I don't think he's terrible. He has some moments where he like kind of brain farts.
But I
And
mean,
in a
this
scheme with JJ, I kind of trust their defense to be all right as long as they have some decent personnel.
extension eligible for 4 years, 115, that feels a little steep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
I mean, I don't know if he'd get all that money, but he can. And he
I think
shot
4 for 100 is like fine for
pretty
him.
fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. 115 is a little steep though.
Yeah.
But then yeah, like Jackson Hayes is awesome in that game, but you can see he's not a real starter. Like there needs to be like a guy. Like I feel like Robert Williams, perfect fit for this type of roster. Maybe
Mhm.
that's a guy you can target as a trade. And then Reeves, I think you just have to bring back, even though like, and then you can kind of figure it out, maybe trade for him at the deadline. But like, you can't just lose the asset for nothing and hope Braun comes back. Braun is like a wild card. It's really up to him, it feels like.
I could see a world where they sign Reeves, they max out Reeves essentially and go play it for a year and see how the two look together. And I think down the line, look to flip him.
Yeah.
One thing about Reeves is he's gotten better every single year starting from college. Like
Hmm.
he went undrafted and then he was barely a starter under Darvin Ham and then he found his way into the starting lineup under JJ and then they traded D'Lo so he took even more usage on and he's gotten better and better and better. So I like betting on guys like that because I
Yeah.
can see that there's some trajectory. He could plateau into then this is just who he is.
Yeah.
But I'm not
He is
sure.
pretty old. I think
Yeah.
he's like 28 or 27. So you don't really see a ton of improvement at that age. Robert Williams, free agent. Mitchell Robinson, free agent. Those guys seem like really good fits for especially with the offensive rebounding. If
Mhm.
maybe Isaiah Hartenstein, if OKC decides to pursue a different direction, maybe that's a guy you invest in.
Yes.
But yeah, there's some options. I think center is kind of the priority, though. You need to have a guy who really just is your basis for defense. Like otherwise, it's all scheme. There
Yeah.
just needs to be someone who can really be the anchor, and they don't have anything close to that right now.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We'll move on to the Philadelphia 76ers. Free agents, they have Quentin Grimes, who is unrestricted, Kelly Oubre Jr., unrestricted, and then Andre Drummond, I feel like and Dominic Barlow are probably the only ones. I think Dominic Barlow's on a team option. They might decline that just to get a good contract extension going.
Yeah.
Everyone else pretty much kind of replaceable on this roster. It did seem like they traded Jared McCain for Quentin Grimes today so they could re-sign him on a better deal. Same with
Mhm.
Kelly Oubre. So those are your priorities. But other than that, you need to find some depth. They added that draft pick from OKC, which I think will be 21, Houston's pick. Hopefully, with that, you can get some depth. You need to hope on some growth from VJ Edgecombe. But at the end of the day, this team lives or dies by Paul George and Joel Embiid's health.
And
Um,
that's they'll probably
yeah,
die.
yeah, exactly. As good as Maxi and Edgecombe was, I felt like Maxi was really disappointing against the Knicks. Like they were really like Mikal Bridges were really disruptive against him, and I felt
Mhm.
like I was hearing like I thought this was a good talking point. It was just like Embiid coming in and out of the lineup kind of messed with Maxi's flow a little bit. Like he was
Yeah.
just not sure what his role is. Like Embiid just such a high usage player, and although they have a two-man game going, it just feels like Maxi like it wasn't he didn't feel aggressive enough, especially shooting the ball. And I felt like in a situation where he knew kind of like his status going in is I'm the 1A, I got to choose my shots and play a lot of minutes, which he did, and he just didn't shoot a lot. He just got to be better. He has been a playoff riser. He has dominated against the Knicks in the past, so that's why I kind of expected that going into the series. I thought this would be a closer fight. They get swept in four. Really disappointing.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And it's also like Joel just isn't like a two-man type of guy. At this point of his career, with where he is with his injuries, he's just kind of a throw it to him and hope that he can draw some fouls. Maybe he'll get some mid-range pull-up jumpers to go. Occasionally he'll shoot a catch and shoot three off that two-man game in a pick and pop. But this like he's not really gonna run some like huge pick and roll scheme. You know, like did we ever see a Maxey to Embiid lob? Can he even catch lobs?
No.
Probably not. So I definitely agree. I mean, according to ESPN, they're the only team with three players making over 40 million. So you really got to hit on the margins with like some vet minimum contracts. Maybe hit on a second rounder or two, if they have. I'm not even sure what their pick stuff is. And then yeah, I mean, VJ's making 11 mil, 12 mil, 15 for the next 3 years, so that's good. But other than that, like. You pick up Barlow, you probably maybe pick up Trendon Watford. You have Justin Edwards who got some playoff minutes, so I mean maybe that'll help him develop. But I mean, just so much money tied up in Embiid and George. If you can find any way to trade them, I think you just do it without even thinking about it. I don't even know what the trade would be or who would. I mean, Paul George probably upped his value compared to what it was 6 months ago in the Celtics series, and
Yep.
he's pretty good against the Knicks too, outside the fourth quarters. But they just need some type of playmaker, perimeter shooting, and yeah, depth.
Yeah, I mean, I think Paul George isn't expiring, so maybe there is some avenue to trade him this offseason.
Yeah. Oh, he has
Could
a
be
he has a
wrong.
player option in 27 for 56 mil.
Right, and he's definitely taken that.
Yeah,
So
and that's it's 2 more years
my
ago.
bad. 2 years left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say another thing I forgot to mention, Daryl Morey was let go by the team,
Mm,
and it seems like Bob Myers is going to be heading the search for them, which is pretty
mm,
interesting. Maybe he'll just pick himself.
mm. Yeah.
I don't know what the direction their front office is. It obviously they're in contention mode. It does seem like they're in a kind of two timeline, all at the same time. Just how good Maxi and VJ are, and for their age. So we'll see what direction they probably go. If I were to guess, it would just be like wait out this contract, try to go younger, and then hope you can build a contender around Maxi. It just
Man,
feels like,
67 million in 2028. Oh my God.
dude, it's rough. I mean, the contract extension hasn't. It's going to start this year. Like that's insane. It's a rough look for sure.
Yeah, it's you got to just find a way to pivot towards Maxi and VJ
Yeah,
and hope somebody wants to trade for Embiid, but I don't know who in their right mind would at this point.
yeah. I think if you can get off Paul George, maybe some future draft capital with Paul George, I think that's the best way to go about it. But
Yeah.
it's really rough, rough sledding from them.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, we got the Toronto Raptors who lost to your Cleveland Cavaliers in 7 games. Pretty solid roster. Their lineup's pretty much set. They have a couple guys, some Mamu Kalashvili, who's probably going to decline his player option, did raise his value this season.
Hmm.
And he's been a great six man for them. Jamal Shed is a team option for them, and he was pretty good in them for them in the postseason, especially with IQ out. And then some younger guys, AJ Lawson, restricted free agent, Jonathan Mogbo, Garrett Temple, who's somehow on the team at like 45 years old, I bet. But yeah, it seems like the roster's pretty much set. It's really the question marks are Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel quickly. Are you continuing with them? Like it seemed like Siakam, and I think RJ even, proved some value in this postseason, especially sorry, not Siakam, Scotty Barnes.
Hmm.
Scotty Barnes was exceptional. Showed the makings of a top 10, top 15 player, and you can really build a contender around him. Colin Murray Boyle is exceptional, like is a small ball five. Like, as a guy who could basically be your mini Scotty Barnes with Scotty Barnes and without him on when he's off the court as well.
Hmm.
The question is, do you have shooting? And then is Brandon Ingram, is Emmanuel quickly, is that the direction you really want to go to create more offense? Or would you rather get more versatile guys and go all in on defense? And Pirtle too. He's been pretty awful for them as well.
I think if you can, you might want to try to attach a pick to Pirtle,
Yep.
and get rid of the contract, really lean into CMB and what he's able to do as that kind of mini Draymond role. He's only like 6'8" or 6'9",
Right.
but he feels like he can play the center position pretty well. Even against a guy like Wemby, I mean, like he kind of feels like a really good like Wemby defender. It's
Yeah.
just he's like quick enough to get on. I mean, they were willingly putting him on James Harden, in the Gav series. I really want to see Scotty next to like a dynamic guard. So I think like if you can try to trade BI or trade quickly for somebody, I mean like this is just wishful thinking, but like a D Book or somebody along the lines of like a secondary creator because Barnes is a really good passer. So a guard who can thrive off ball, I think would be very impactful. Barnes's mid-range jumper looked really good against the Cavs. Really, they just need shooting. I mean, they were
Yep.
21st in three-point percentage this season. Um, I mean, Jamal Shed showed a little bit of it. Jameson Battle, we know he can shoot if he gets more minutes. But outside of that, I mean, Grady Dick was benched for the entire series. Don't know if
Yeah.
he's an NBA player anymore.
Right.
Um, and RJ Barrett looked definitely up his value against the Cavs. So I mean, I'm not a huge RJ Barrett guy, and I would be looking to flip him if I can. He's on an expiring $29 million contract. Like, there's got to be some value there.
Yeah, I think they are a first apron team. Their books are a little tight for sure. I think your Mamu may have to be let go to keep Shed at this
Yeah.
point. But at the same time, Mamu's one of those like he's really one of their only stretch options. So maybe it's more important to keep him. IQ can be, I think IQ at this point could be their dynamic guard that they're looking for at a, again, expensive contract, but he's a decent defender, like a fine defender at least, and a very good three-point shooter at times. But I feel like BI is kind of like the guy you gotta think about moving on from. Maybe trade him for a center. I've seen BI for Sabonis talks. Makes a lot of sense for both teams because the Kings just love a BI type of player, and DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, just a
Yeah.
lot makes a lot of sense for their roster at least. And Sabonis, at a point of his career where he's just looking for a different direction. So maybe that's a move you make, and it spaces you out. Even though Sabonis isn't a great three-point shooter, he just the handoffs, the passing. He definitely creates more space than you would think for a guy his size. I don't love it.
Part of what made the Raptors so difficult to deal with though was that like they had five good defenders at every single position, and it was like
Right.
you
Yeah.
throw IQ in there and Sabonis or like a center that's not that mobile, like it becomes a lot easier to score. And then I don't know if your offense can keep up with that, but we'll see. I mean, I think they have to decide like what direction are
Yeah.
we going in because Scotty's only 24 and he's on the books for the next 5 years. And your mindset has to be we're keeping this guy. He's our number one. Let's put some shooting around him at least because he can get to the rim and he can get in ISO. He can create his own shot. So got to space the floor around him.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Moving on, we got the Orlando Magic, who lost to the Detroit Pistons in 7 games. Blew a 3-1 lead after Franz Wagner got injured, unfortunately, calf injury, I believe. Don't really have a lot of free agents. Jet Howard doesn't seem like they're really going to be continuing with him. Jamal Cain is a restricted free agent. Definitely going to bring him back. He was pretty important to their run, just the lack of depth they had. But the athletic piece could put the ball on the floor as well. Um, Mo Wagner and Javon Carter could be some guys to bring back. But yeah, this is an interesting roster. I believe the Apollo extension starts this year, so they're looking pretty expensive soon. 3.6 million below the second apron, so very and they do have some flexibility with Jonathan Isaac. They're probably going to waive him. Um, yeah, it doesn't seem like this team has a lot of directions to go, unfortunately. They have their core, Suggs, Bane, Banchero, Wagner, and it was good enough to nearly accept, and probably would have if Franz was healthy. Um, Upset the number one seeded Detroit Pistons. I don't believe they were gonna, beat the Cavs personally. It just seems like the team was very top heavy and not built for great stretches of offense, especially what the Cavs can do to you. So, what do you think the direction is here? I feel like you have to hope on internal development with Black and De Silva. I think especially are those the biggest pieces, and just hope Jalen Suggs can be like not a nightmare shooter, which he's
Yeah.
proven to at times. But at the same time, maybe you just move in a different direction from Banchero, who, again, great guy in the playoffs, can definitely elevate his jump shooting from an awful jump shooter in the regular season to like a decent one. I just don't think he's a core number one. But yeah, what do you think?
I think you got to play another year out with these. I mean, with this team, you just
Yeah,
traded for like your haul of picks for Desmond Bane.
right.
Um, they were, I think, 10-7 when they had those five guys. You mentioned Suggs, Bane, Wagner, Banchero, and Carter starting. Um, and you re-signed Anthony Black, who averaged 15 a game, and he looked really good. Um, and I think you just got to hope to stay healthy. You got Jamal Mosley out of there, which there were some rumblings that one of the star guys, probably Paolo, wasn't happy with him. So you can make a new coaching hire and hope that you kind of just lead you in a different direction. You're right, De Silva's decent, and Black some internal development there. Jace Richardson, he went to Michigan State. Like he could also be somebody decent. And then again, like you just gotta improve on the margins. And kind of hope that you can add just like players that can, like Jamal Cain, you kind of just found him out of nowhere and he proved to be useful. Just kind of got and find some shooting there. It feels like even with Bane, they didn't feel like a high volume, great three-point shooting team. So I think if you can find somebody like that and maybe replace Goga or just get another decent backup big because like I don't Goga's not doing it for me and he is extension eligible, but I would not be thinking about extending him at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of things about like a Suggs trade. Just like Suggs is on a great deal. He's still a great player. Like defensively, you saw his value during that series, and
Yeah.
I think his offense can round itself out. He's a very confident player.
Too
And like a
confident.
very, yeah, maybe too confident for sure. I am seeing a lot of like Jamal Murray, which would be like a perfect fit for this roster. just because Jamal Murray is like a top five shooter in the league,
Yeah,
especially
there's
at that position.
no way they're getting Jamal Murray.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, Denver is a team who apparently everyone's on the market. You never know. So if
Mhm.
that's a target, you kind of go another all-in trade, even though you don't have a ton. You have five firsts in the
Yeah.
next 7 years, but only one's tradable at this point. So if you want to go all in, give that pick up, give maybe Black up as well, kind of go all in for Jamal Murray. Maybe that's the avenue you go to, but then you lose a lot of your defensive identity at the same time.
Yeah.
So
I
like
think
you
we
said,
keep
I'd probably
Suggs.
run it another year.
I think we keep Suggs like if he can dial in his shot selection, he had a disgusting series against the Pistons. At one
Yeah.
point, he missed like I think he was shooting like 15 for 70 or something like that,
Yeah.
around those numbers. And it just feels like a lot of the shots he takes, like he doesn't actually set his feet. Like
Yeah.
he kind of just like throwing it up there. I feel like maybe it was a lack of rhythm. He still kept shooting, but he has like a Derek White archetype to me of like potential trajectory in terms of how he can shoot if he dials it in a little bit. Um, and if he, yeah, I don't know. They are 26 in three-point percentage. Um, I think a new coach, a new culture. I think like kind of how we saw JB Bickerstaff with the Cavs when they just like it kind of felt like they had the team, but we didn't really know what they were doing. You have Kenny, you have a new staff. Jordan Knott was on that staff too. Kind of unlocked the whole offense. They don't have the three-point shooting that the Cavs do, but they do have the talent. Um,
Yeah.
you got to figure out
I
this
just
follow fit. Like they're
I do think like what concerns me about the Magic is like what's the identity for creating advantages like in the margins. I don't think they're a high turnover creator team. They did that against the Pistons because of the size and physicality. They were able to make Cade really, really uncomfortable. And Suggs is a personally like he is a great turnover creator. I don't think anyone else on the roster can really do that. Maybe Desmond Bain is like a decent guy when it comes to like off ball like steals and like going picking off plays, but it doesn't feel like they're able to really create turnovers. It's not a super big team. They have some size, but none of those guys are great rebounders and offensive rebounding, and then they can't shoot. Like I
they
just
should
don't find the
be
margin for
They
them to,
should
yeah,
be really good at the point of attack. Like, there's no
right,
reason that like even Desmond is like their smallest player, but he's not. You can't just push him over, right?
right,
So like between Suggs, Franz, Bain, Banchero, and Carter, there shouldn't be a give. Like they shouldn't be teams shouldn't be getting to the rim at will. I feel like that could be their should be their advantage.
right. No, I agree. That's definitely part of it. Like just the shot difficulty and the shot diet is like probably their best bet,
Yeah,
but nothing else. Like that's so hard to rely on over a
yeah,
7 game series. I
yeah,
feel like they need to figure out a different way. And maybe they become an offensive rebounding team. Maybe Banchero really hones in on that, and that's how they kind of create the advantage. And maybe Wendell just maybe the guy you move on from, and you get a guy who can really like Goga maybe is a better rebounder. I don't know what the avenue is. I just feel like they need to figure out a niche that they can hone in on to create offense or create easy offense in moments like they can, and they don't really have one.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I forgot that Jonathan Isaac exists, and I look up and he's making 15 mil over the next 3 seasons.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if they waive him, I think a lot of it's non-guaranteed because of the injury
Okay.
issues, but still, it's like crazy.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I hope. Oh yeah, it says 2028, 29 is not guaranteed, but this year and the next year it is.
Partially guaranteed, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the Celtics.
Yep. Boston, another team that blew a 3-1 lead, speaking of, to the Philadelphia 76ers.
It's
You
crazy.
know, it is crazy. That was a nuts first round. I wish we talked about it more, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, they don't have a ton of free agents. Vucevic is an unrestricted free agent. Definitely letting him go. He seemed like an expiring deal, kind of to just get under the apron.
Mhm.
Neemias Queta, huge addition. He was great for them this year. Team option, so they're probably gonna, re-sign him on a better, longer term deal. And then Jordan Walsh and Ron Harper, I think similarly, the guys you want to bring back and to kind of evaluate further. It
Mhm.
seems like this team, they have some cap space left. They're $12 million below the luxury tax. So Brad Stevens, kudos to you for getting under the tax after the amount of contracts you had on the books coming off of last year. But the question is, how do they improve? I think center is a big need for them.
Mhm.
I think another year, these guys are a lot of these wings are young, like Hugo Gonzalez, Jordan Walsh, Ron Harper Jr. Those guys are a lot of them are super young. So just maybe development is what you're hoping for. Maybe just offensive consistency and guys you trust more in bigger moments to handle the ball.
Yeah.
Um, but I think this is a team you kind of hope on internal development, Tatum getting healthier and getting better. That's really the avenue, and obviously Derek White just playing better as well. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like you said, not really much to talk about the Celtics. I mean, Kate is on a team option, so either you decline it and then you extend him, or yeah, and you decline it and extend him or exercise it and then do a new contract after, which I think they will end up doing. I don't know if he's a championship level starting center. But I don't really know if they have many avenues. I mean, they have the space, so they could make a trade here or there, but um, yeah, their front court is definitely just the biggest issue.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big Garza guy either. He's 27. He's kind of just who he is at this point. But everybody else, like at all the other positions, look really good, and Sharman's a dog. So
I think Rob Williams, another guy they could bring back.
yeah.
I like him for the Lakers. I think for the Celtics makes a lot of sense as well, just as a six-man
Mhm.
guy. And they kind of need some versatility. Like Kata is good, but he's really just a drop defender. I think Tatum at the five is probably their better option coming off the bench. But yeah, like a stretch big would be nice, but I think it's not necessary really with the roster and the three-point shooting that they have. Like I'd rather focus on someone you don't trust in like getting in foul trouble with Kata does all the time and just have another drop defender behind him. Like I'm okay with I think a guy like Robert Williams, Time Lord, coming back and just coming in for 15 to 20 minutes in big playoff moments. Like he was exceptional for the Blazers. I thought this postseason, I think he could do the same for the Celtics.
Derek White's contract is pretty interesting. I mean, he's making
Yeah.
30 mil, 32 mil, and then 34 player option, and he'll be 34, 33, 34 at the time. Um, maybe they have three tradable firsts. Maybe they look around for Derek White. He feels kind of important to their identity, but his three-point shooting fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
So I would think about maybe trying to flip him for an actual starting caliber center. Um, and there's some talk about Jalen Brown being traded for Giannis, and I just think that's such a bad idea. And I
Yeah,
don't.
no, I definitely don't see that either.
Yeah, but other than that, not much to talk about the Celtics. Should move on to Houston, who
Yeah.
kind of a lot to talk about with Houston because I still don't know what they do with KD because he's entering the first year of his extension. Um, I think it's 2 years, 90 mil. But it kind of just feels like the vibes with Katie are just so off with this team, starting with the burner and how he was calling out all these guys. He seems like he hates them and they hate him. And yeah, they might get Fred Van Vliet back to start next year, but how much does a Fred Van Vliet help you in this situation anymore? He's older, coming off an ACL, I believe. Um, very interesting to see where they go from here. I feel like they could be an interesting trade candidate for, um, I don't know who, but I think they should move off KD and just kind of pivot.
Yeah, Van Vliet has a player option. I think with the injury, he's definitely going to accept that. And
Hmm.
Tari is kind of like the biggest question mark. He's a restricted free agent. Do they just, give him the offer and then hope for the best in unrestricted free agency? Again, like you said, Kevin Durant's the biggest question mark. I do think they were better in the earlier parts of the season. Like they just need to address a couple issues, right? Turnovers and offensive rebounding. Like
Hmm.
offensive rebounding was where they made a lot of their bread and butter. And with Steven Adams out, I felt like that was one of the biggest losses of the season.
Hmm.
And then Van Vliet, of course, will help with the turnovers. You're hoping for Şengün and Amen to get better, which they have. Not super like huge leaps, but like definitely like gradual getting better. Do you keep KD? I don't know, but I don't think he's a bad fit for this roster. The roster itself is so far away, but then if you trade Kevin Durant, it's not going to get any better. So it's just like, what direction do you choose?
One thing you do before even dropping KD is you drop Ime Udoka off at the
Right.
nearest bus stop because there's no way he should be the coach of this team next year. I mean,
Yeah.
like they already have such bad vibes, and he's like the ultimate bad vibes coach. Calling everybody bitch doesn't work. And it feels like he was just out schemed by JJ Redick to like another universe.
Yeah.
JJ is like so far better than Ime. It's not even close. And yeah, I don't know. I can't see a world where he's the coach of this team next year. And then yeah, Easton's interesting. I mean, he started off the year shooting the three ball so well, and it just like completely tailored off. Maybe because his mom's on Twitter too much. But I mean, I think he was shooting 48% on threes through January.
Yeah.
I do think that there's a really good 3-and-D player in Tari Eason. So I would try to keep him around. But like the reality is like if your best player is Şengün or your second best or whatever, like the defense is just so bad that like the only people that can have a center be that bad at defense is Jokic because he's otherworldly on offense. And there's just no route to being a championship team or even a contending team if Şengün is your center, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't agree necessarily because I think Şengün can be okay enough to. I mean, there's still an elite defense. They definitely tailed off at the end of the season, but I felt like having another five you can trust with Şengün, like Adams, in
Mm,
those moments, in the moments where Şengün's like kind of struggling or not having a man or like guys off the bench who can really help. I think if you have another big body, that will help insulate that. To me, the biggest problem with this team is the lack of 3 and D level players. Like you said, Tari, let's see if his jumper will turn around and get him back. But I think they need to trade for another guy who can offer that. Like Dorian Finney-Smith, I thought was such a great addition. He was great for the Lakers, just like a cone out there.
yeah.
Not even a player. He never got any real minutes for them, and it was just awful in the moments he played. I think if you can turn his contract, turn like Aaron Holiday, some of those guys, Josh Okogie, who's good for them, but like not a real caliber player you want in the playoffs in big moments. Just a real reliable 3 and D player. Just a guy, maybe not even 3 and D, but like emphasis on the three, slight lowercase d, like good enough, really good 3-point shooter you can trust with at least like a competent defensive player in a Ime Udoka scheme. I think that's the biggest question mark. And then again, Reed Shepherd, I thought really struggled in the playoffs, of course. Can't blame him. Like basically a rookie point guard. He didn't really get a lot of minutes last year
With no
playing.
other point guard on the roster, essentially.
Exactly. So a lot
Yeah.
of pressure on him. I think he can be better next season. I think with Van Vliet as like a maybe he'll become the backup, maybe he'll start. They'll figure that out. I think they'll get better enough. I just think they need to figure out an 3D wing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just feels like all like their main three young guys in Şengün, Amen, and Reed just have such major flaws.
Yeah, that's the problem.
It's like it feels impossible to build a good team around them. No wonder Katie's in the Burns pissed. Like these guys like all have major issues.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do. But I wouldn't be surprised if Katie gets traded just because the vibes are so bad.
Yeah. It's just like will they get better? I struggle to see it, but maybe the vibes are just like that bad. And I feel like Ime would fix some of the vibes at least. Maybe not firing
Yeah,
Ime.
maybe. Maybe.
Moving on, we got the Denver Nuggets who lost in a 6-game series, kind of an upset to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They were missing one of their free agents, Peyton Watson, who was a really big part of their roster in the regular season, just unable to play with a hamstring issue. He's a restricted free agent, so they can give him the best deal, match whatever offer. And in addition, Spencer Jones, who was a big part of their team throughout the season, also a restricted free agent. Tim Hardaway Jr. unrestricted. He was also one of the candidates for Six Man of the Year. Like great, big part of their team, especially the off the bench 3-point shooting. He was a perfect fit, like as advertised when they signed him. Bruce Brown was not though. He was pretty rough for them. Not the guy they thought they were getting from their championship run in 2023. And then Tyus Jones, I don't think they're bringing him back. I mean, he got some minutes in the playoffs, but like every minute he was in the floor, it was like, I mean, other than the game where he was actually better than Jamal Murray, it was like, why is he on this team, you know?
Yeah. I honestly think it's kind of overblown the fact that like people want to blow up Denver. I think that a lot of it was Jokic being hurt towards the end of the season. He had a knee issue. They were pretty good before, and um, I could see a world where they just keep the same team. They build again around the margins. I mean, you might lose Tim Hardaway or Bruce Brown, but they have shown the ability to go get decent free agents and find value. I mean, the MPJ trade probably wasn't the best, but they were able to dodge some cap restrictions and stuff like that. I think you got to just run this team back one more time,
Okay.
and let's see a healthy Jokic play against OKC or or San Antonio, and let's see what those matchups like really look like. Like they took OKC to 7. That was an interesting series. It was definitely competitive, and I think they would have had a real shot to beat San Antonio. So I think I like the Jonas Valanciunas pickup. I thought that at least in the regular season, it gave them another look and it kept Jokic fresh. Obviously, freak or injuries happen and you can't control it. But I think you just run it back. This is like still the Jamal Murray Jokic pick and roll is still like one of the most elite actions, one of the most go-to actions in the NBA. And it felt like at one point in the playoffs, it felt like they even against the Timberwolves earlier in the series, it felt like they were creating good shots every single time. So I think you got to just run it back. Would you trade somebody?
Yeah, I think the odd man out seems to be Cam Johnson at this point, and he had a couple good games for them in Minnesota, but just the what they need at this point is athleticism and youth. I thought that was a real struggle, like especially this how slow Jokic looks,
Yeah.
how like targeted Jamal Murray can get. You just need the athleticism on the back line. Aaron Gordon obviously just struggled with injuries all season, so like maybe that's a guy you consider trading if that's just what he's so important to that team. It's
And
just
but you
tough to
got to think
imagine.
that yeah, I don't think you trade him, but you got to think that for the rest of his career, he's just gonna have like he's gonna be in and out of the lineup. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. So I think you got to get rid of Cam Johnson, unfortunately, just because of how important Peyton Watson is. And
Mhm.
to re-sign him, like that seems like the only avenue. And it feels like Jonas, like yeah, I didn't really love it coming into the offseason. Just like $10 million felt like a lot for a guy who would get played off the floor in an OKC series, in my opinion.
Yeah,
He did when he was a Pelican, again, that one playoff round a couple years ago. So I didn't really trust that lot. I think you got to go for a different direction there. Like Zeke Naji, another contract that could be traded, maybe
yeah.
with that Valanciunas contract to loosen some salary cap as well. I think Tim Hardaway is a guy you really want to bring back. Spencer Jones is another guy who you kind of want to bring back, but everyone else kind of Deron Holmes maybe is the future. Maybe he's the backup center they need, but I don't really see another avenue for this team getting a lot better.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it seems like bringing them back or maybe trading Cam Johnson for maybe a backup center or like another guard might be the way to go. I don't
I
really
don't.
see the
You
yeah.
could. What about Christian Brown?
It just says yeah, I guess you could, but I think if the question is like athleticism and youth, he's the only other guy. His contract's not great. I'll agree. And he doesn't do a whole lot. Like if he's not hitting shots and cutting. He can't really handle the ball, and his defense is fine. Like it's not great, but I think you got to keep him. Like I think you just committed too much to him. Like maybe give him another season at least.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's go to Atlanta.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Atlanta, a team that lost in six. The only team to give this New York juggernaut two losses due to CJ McCollum, who is an unrestricted free agent. They might look to bring him back. I don't know with this new lottery pick they have at number 8, I believe.
Mhm.
That could be something they think about. Jonathan Kuminga, another big free agent. They have a team option on him. Could look to re-sign him. He gave some good minutes for them. I don't know if he's like a long-term building piece, but another guy, Mo Gay, team option for him, and Gabe Vincent and Jock Landale, both unrestricted free agents. We'll see. Not really. Jock Landale, I thought was pretty good for them, but he was out for the postseason, and it felt like that loss was pretty big because of how big Cat and Mitchell Robinson were.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what do you think about this roster?
Well, the first thing that I always think about when I think about the Hawks is just what is going on with Ricochet
Mhm.
because he was literally the first pick in the draft, and we're looking at this new draft, which is just like has four like generational guys, and you're looking around like what happened to Ricochet, and I feel like he's actually like a decent off-ball scorer. I think he needs to. I mean, you can't just sit him the whole year again. He needs to be in the lineup. I think you bring back Kuminga. I liked what I saw in the playoffs. He seemed they do have some they are lacking some front court depth behind Jalen. Coming as a nice like six man, you know, if Jalen's hurt or something like that, he can come in and start in that role. I think Onyeka is a really good starting center on a decent contract, making 16 mil over the next or 32 over the next 2 years. Um, Kispert didn't really play much, right? Am I incorrect in saying that?
No, no, definitely not.
Right. Dyson's on his extension's about to kick in. Buddy is like a decent vet. I mean, I think you gotta well, they have the 13th pick. I think you gotta nail that pick. And
They have
then
number 8
number eight. Okay.
from New Orleans. Yeah,
Okay. And the CJ discussion is interesting. I mean, like they should be drafting guards. Like it's just some type of playmaking. If you're especially if you're not gonna bring back CJ.
I think they bring back CJ actually. I think they bring back CJ and draft a guard and just have CJ kind of mold that guard into basically be a better version of him. Like I think guys like Mikal Brown, and maybe Rasheer Fleming kind of fit that mold, who could be around that spot. Obviously, Darius Acuff, that'd be a sick. I doubt he falls to number 8, especially with Sacramento at 7. Like they're
Would
gonna pick
Wagler
him for
fall
sure.
to Can Wagler fall to eight? No, no,
He
no.
just feels too similar to the other guys, like Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. It just seems like too similar in mold. I feel like you need a guy with real juice and a
Yeah.
shot creator. Again, Wagler not a real athlete. Like that's the biggest question mark with him. He can shoot. He's big, but like I don't know. Like I'd rather go with like a Fleming or a Mikael Brown, or
Mhm.
maybe even trade up for a cuff. Like I feel like that could be an avenue,
Mhm.
personally. And then Kaminga's another question mark to me. I'm pretty confident they re-sign CJ, just how good he was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But Kaminga is like, do you get him for a longer term deal? I would think CJ probably gets something like 2 for 55 or something like that. Something
Mhm.
like and then Kaminga, do you take the team option, just see another give him another year, which I feel like he wouldn't be happy with personally. I don't think he
No, I
wants to be
don't
an
think he
unrestricted free
signed that.
agent.
I don't think he signed that initial contract with Golden State thinking that he was going to be just accepting that team option.
Exactly. So my guess would be they kind of give him another 2 year deal, decline his player a team option, give him another 2 year deal with the team option at the end of it. Just keep on giving him the rope, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or I mean, you could give him 3 years and get him at a lower number. That doesn't sound
Yeah,
too bad to me either. I
true.
mean, he's what he's only 23.
Yeah.
Like there's room for improvement. His jumper, 3-point jumper could come into play. And I just think he looked pretty good in the playoffs. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
if I've seen someone be good in the playoffs, like it's very hard to just like let them go. Just like you said about CJ.
Mhm. All right, moving on to Portland Trail Blazers. They
Hmm.
have no draft pick this year because they did trade that to Chicago, and their free agents are Robert Williams, who I've mentioned a couple times, Matisse Thybulle, who's been great for them, and then Blake Wesley, Caleb Love, kind of end of the rotation guys. The only question to me is really this new owner and their coaching situation, right? Which are really interrelated. Seems like Thiago Splitter might not return because of Tom Dundon's uh, averseness to spending any money, like any reasonable amount of money, unfortunately. I saw
Yeah.
today he was willing to like relocate the team because of the city was not willing to work with him about like some budget cuts or something like that.
Hmm.
Insane. And then again, they're getting back Damian Lillard next season, who I think will be a really welcome addition to this roster. I think Scoot Henderson showed a lot of I think some definitely shooting luck was part of that, but he showed a lot in the postseason against San Antonio. And hopefully some growth from Young Hansen to really round out that bench.
Hmm.
There's a lot of avenues for this team to be pretty good. I was really high on them coming into the season. Definitely injury riddled, which probably limited their success in the regular season. But I think they could definitely, like, with Damian Lillard back, make a little buzz, maybe get to a top 6 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just got to add some shooting around
Yep.
Denny. Can you get
Damian
a
Lillard.
guy? Yeah,
Damian
yeah,
Lillard.
well, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Can you get a guy like Landry Shamet? Can you get a
Mm,
guy I don't know, a guy in that archetype? Cam Thomas is a free agent. I don't know if any team is interested in that.
doesn't seem like it.
I don't think so. But I think if you can just add some shooting, I think you'll be all right. Aaron Holiday, somebody like that. Jordan Goodwin's probably going to be re-signed by the Suns.
Hmm.
But I honestly like the direction they're doing. They're getting better every year. Denny looks
Yep.
really good. They have Scoot looked really good. Shaden's a really decent player. Kamara's a defensive stud. Um, yeah, they just got to figure out this coaching situation. You're right. Like, and
Yeah.
Bill Simmons calls him Mr. Cheapo, the owner. So we'll see if he's willing to spend anything at all, or maybe we'll just go get a guy from college, who will take a little less money to be in the big leagues.
Guess so. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Chipa, not too creative. Bill Simmons, kind of
Yeah.
disappointing. They have a lot of picks. Maybe they go a little more all in. Maybe this is the Giannis team. That's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind selling high on Denny for Giannis. I think that would be a really, good strategy.
You
Like
want to
Denny
do
was
Dame and Giannis again?
screw it, man. It's Dame,
Nah,
Giannis, and Drew. Drew and Giannis again?
Drew, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't get behind that, man. I've seen enough of those two together, honestly. They had no
Fair
chemistry.
enough.
It didn't feel like did they develop any pick and roll chemistry over their like year?
Yeah, but I think Dame has come to a different point of his career. Much more of a spot up shooter. Maybe coming up with the bench lineups. I feel like he's kind of, I mean, maybe not. Of course, the Achilles injury like didn't make, we don't know how he's going to turn out after it, but it's possible he's just like a different player who just is a great shooter. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just think because of the fact that they own these picks, they'll just have such a premium to Milwaukee specifically that like you have a real avenue to get Giannis a lot cheaper than most other teams would caps spending with your draft capital.
Can you
Yeah,
get it without giving up Denny? Probably not, right?
maybe. But low-key, like I wouldn't mind it personally. I feel like Denny Grant and some picks, dude, like two
Uh,
picks, probably enough.
Nah, I don't think I can get behind that, man. I just like I think you I think I mean I don't I guess it depends on how you look at Denny. His contract is like pretty good.
It's good. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
really good. And like I kind of feel like you kind of gotta capitalize on his contract and like add some youth or some type of free agent more than like trade for Giannis and kind of run back this. I bet like Blazers fans would be pretty pissed if you went ahead and did that trade. I feel like they've kind of fallen in love with Denny a little bit.
No, I get that. It just I feel like he's a really schemable player. It seems like the
Yeah.
perfect build for a playoff dropper, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So like I wouldn't mind it. And then for shooting, I think yeah, Dame coming in. I think you hope on maybe get one free agent who can be a real shooter. Maybe V Krejci, guy off the bench, could be like a guy you already have, just
Mhm.
turns into a more of a solid rotational player. And then maybe Shaden Sharp just develops a better shot. I feel like that's kind of the guy you're hoping on, hanging on to
Yeah.
for being their shooter. Hasn't really developed it yet, but I there's some moments for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I think this is the last team.
Mhm.
Unless you want to do play-in teams, I think it's fine.
No, I
Just
think so.
yeah, we'll stick with the playoff teams.
Yeah.
The Phoenix Suns got swept by the OKC Thunder in 4 games. Their
Yeah.
free agents are Colin Gillespie, who's been sensational for them this season, Mark Williams, who is a restricted free agent, Jordan Goodwin, another guy who's been a really solid starter, and then the rest of the guys are like kind of end of the bench guys. What do you think about this roster? And like, what's the future for them?
Man, I honestly have no idea what to do with this
Yeah.
team. They have no future picks essentially. They don't control their first round pick 6 of the next 7 years.
Hmm.
Um, Kaman Malawak is like their one guy that like and Rasheer Fleming that like they have to try to develop. I've been begging them to trade D-Book for like a while now just to recoup some assets. D-Book is who he is at this point. I don't think he's going to get any better. If anything, he's gotten worse in the last 2 years. But um, there's just no way he wants to leave Phoenix. And like I've heard that from people that like he just doesn't want to. And they don't want to trade him. So it kind of feels like they're just going to be stuck in this mediocre thing where they're in the play-in. Maybe they're like a fun, like, Jordan Ott's a really good coach and they have a schemable offense. They have a really good offense. Um, I guess they bring back Dylan Brooks or extend him. Um, I'm not too sure what is his contract?
It's pretty good, I think. I'd have to check. I think it's like around 30 million a year.
Yeah. Oh no, he's expiring 20 mil. So maybe
Okay.
they'll probably try to
Probably try to extend him, yeah.
yeah, extend him. And he was exactly kind of what they needed, right? Like
Hmm.
he some toughness, some grit, and he was somehow a pretty good second option. You're hoping that Jalen Green just has like a amazing like coming out year, if that's even possible for Jalen at this point. But I just like don't really know what to say about them. Malawak is like
Yeah.
they're one like hope for like a really good future center.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think even more of this problem, maybe I'm a little lower on Book at this point. It's just his contract is so big. He makes 35% of the cap for the next 3 years.
Yeah,
He's gonna make $68 million in 29-30, assuming he picks up that player option, which I assume he will. And he's gonna be
yeah.
33 years old. Again, part of his prime. I'm not like think he's gonna fall off a cliff or anything, but he's not a top 15 player at the league anymore. I think the league's kind of passed him by, with shooting guards at least. And I think like I wouldn't mind trading him. Like I think at this point this might be your best chance to do it. He has 3 years left on his deal. Like you're kind of pot committed to this guy. Like recoup the assets.
They won't, man. They just
I know, yeah. Like I forgot who their owner is.
HBM.
Ishbia, Matt Ishbia. Like he just
Yeah,
seems like very attached to Devin Booker.
yeah.
And I just thought he was awful in that playoff series. Like he was pretty terrible. Jalen Green impressed me more, if anything. I thought his passing was a lot better than I thought, and just kind of turned into a point guard more than I expected him from him. And he's just a real like athlete. Like he could get to the rim quicker than OKC's defense, which is one of the best in the league, can get to react to him, which that's just a really valuable skill to have. And even though his jump shot is like very hit or miss, and most of the time it was missed this series,
Mhm.
I think, with his youth, I think that's a better building block right now with his contract than Booker is, which is weird to say.
I mean,
But I think,
70 mil for Devin Booker at like 34 is just like
mhm,
can't be the right way to go about this.
yeah, I don't really know what they do though, exactly. Like, there's not a whole lot of directions for them. But hey, maybe they'll be a competitive-ish team, play-in team for the next couple
I
of
mean, it
years.
seems like
Have some
HBO
fun.
like doesn't he definitely doesn't want to tank. I mean, he just bought the
Yeah,
team
right.
Sarver for like 4 bill.
Yeah.
something easy like that. Like he's not in any mood to see them win 19 games.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think those are all the teams we're going over today. Thank you for listening to the Change of Pace podcast. Follow us on all our socials at Change of Pace Pod on Instagram, TikTok. Email us at changeofpacepodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions. And that's all we have for today. Thank you for listening.